During our class videos, you may hear our poets and playwrights use terms that are new to you. We have created a list of key terms and definitions that you can refer to at any point during our video lectures. This list is available on the Videos and Readings class page, where you can read it or download it as a PDF. If you would like to find and review these terms while you watch each class video, you can stop this video, go back to the Videos and Readings class page, and download the PDF. There you can play this video and each of the following class videos. If you have any questions about these terms, we encourage you to ask your teaching team in the weekly class discussions.
Welcome back. We are still in Block B, and this is week 4, and the theme this week is connecting and expressing identities, a continuation of last week. We're looking at how communities may be leveraged to support or repress expressions of personal and cultural identities. And the craft topics for this week is experimental structures. Right now we're asking ourselves, what happens when we dismiss traditional structures? Where do we go from there? How do we re-envision the structure of a new play that's in an experimental form? Part of this has to do with what is the form and what is the topic of the form, and who is the person, the writer, and who is the community that writer is writing for and trying to reach. One example of this is like throwing out the old ways of thinking of beginning, middle, and end, old ways of looking at protagonist as a hero and someone we want to identify with, and also old ways of even thinking about how a structure works. So one example of this is when Brecht took on moved from Aristotelian thinking into epic thinking, no longer wanting to think about the protagonist as someone we want to identify with, but looking at corrupt humans in a corrupt time. Not everyone was heroic. So for example, Mother Courage as a way to survive the war, he looks at 12 years, and each scene is a different year. So 12 scenes in 12 years in order to follow her arc across the 30 Years' War.
Well, in a similar fashion, if you dispense with the traditional elements of making a poem, meter or rhyme, traditional forms, then you're in a whole new world, and how to make sense out of all that. W.H. Auden famously said that only D.H. Lawrence seemed to have the ear to be able to dispense with traditional forms and write free verse. But over the last century or so, we have seen in any number of different literary traditions, consummate poets taking their cues from avant-garde movements in their time, from different ways of thinking about the world, and creating new forms, nonce forms. I'm thinking particularly of Garcia Lorca, who wrote a wonderful book of poems during his nearly year-long visit to New York, called A Poet in New York. And he's got a poem called The King of Harlem, which begins, "With a spoon he scooped out crocodiles. With a spoon he scooped out crocodiles' eyes and whacked monkeys' backsides. With a spoon. The fire of forever slept in the flints, and beetles drunk on anise forgot the village moss. The old mushroom-covered man went to where the blacks wept, while the king's spoon crackled and tanks of putrid water arrived." Now, you might not quite understand what all is going on there, even as you are kind of amazed by the amped-up language, the different images and metaphors that he will create. But just the repetition of that word spoon, with a spoon, with a spoon, and then the king's spoon, you realize that he's creating a form in which the repetition of a single word can begin to hold the poem together. So this week we'll be looking at ways in which you can take traditional forms and then blow them up and start anew. And once you have begun to imagine yourself in a new structural realm, you've created new parameters for the poem, you want to think about how you can make that poem hang together. So much of writing is experimental, whether you're working in traditional or open forms, and that's the great freedom of the form, the great freedom of writing, to see where the language will take you. Onward.